Hi, welcome to Core Paints. Today we are going to paint Gautam Buddha using acrylic paints on canvas. Other material details are visible on your screen and I'm ready to paint, so let's get started. Before starting, if you are new to my channel, kindly subscribe and press the bell icon to get more such videos. I'm starting with the sketch and going to do abstract painting today. Starting the sketch from eyes is the best technique, as you can easily draw other features just by following an idea that forehead portion, nose and chin portion, all three must be in same proportion. Along with the painting, today we will be discussing life of Buddha and a small story about his life at the end. I think I should start with his life story. It's a history part, so it can be a little bit boring, but you must know why you are painting a person in your painting and what is his importance in other people's life. So let's start with his birth story first. Gautama was born in the Kshatriya Sakya clan of the state of Kapilvastu, which is in Nepal currently. The exact place of his birth was the garden of Lumbini Grama near the city of Kapilvastu. At a much later date, Emperor Ashoka Maurya erected the famous Rumindei pillar at that place to make it more memorable. Lumbini is now known as Rumindei or Rupandehi. Gautama was the son of Sakya chief of Kapilavastu, Sushodhana. His mother was Maya Devi, who died 7 days after the birth of her son Gautama. The child thereupon was nursed by his stepmother and mother sister Mahaprajapati Gautini. According to her name, the child was named as Gautama. The family also belonged to the Gautam Gotra, so his name came from there. Another name of Gautama was Siddhartha. The exact dates of the birth and death of Gautam Buddha are not yet definitely known to history, though it is known for certain that he lived a life of 80 years. There are two theories about these dates supported by their own arguments and evidences. One having more evidence is based on Ashoka's coronation and the Canton dots. From the viewpoint of Ashoka's coronation date and Canton dots, the year of birth of Buddha may be taken as 566 or 567 before Christ, and the year of his death as 486 or 487 before Christ. Before proceeding further, let me remind you, if you have taken a lot of colors on your palette, then you did this wrong. As acrylics dry faster, you have to paint it too faster, and also you have to take very small quantity of colors on your palette, otherwise you are going to waste a lot of colors. And also I can now think that from my other videos you must know now that acrylics dry darker, so paint accordingly. So proceeding to his early life, much of the life of Buddha is shrouded in mystery, but much of it also appears clearer from the Buddhist sources. It is said that from his childhood, young Gautama showed signs of detachment towards the worldly life. Yet, as a Kshatriya prince, he was given the customary training in the use of arms and weapons, in riding horses and driving chariot. Father Shushodhana paid no attention to keep the mind of his son engaged in the stately activities. The palace of Kapilvastu also presented enough of pleasures and luxuries for enjoyment, but Gautama was seen to be, possessed no attraction for so-called happiness of life. Everything appeared rather painful to him. He was not happy living in that luxurious life. He always felt sad in his palace, as his life was amazing according to us, but it was awful for him. When he was 16, he got married to Yashodhara, also named as Gopa or Bimba. Marriage was yet another bond for the thoughtful prince. For several years thereafter, Gautama enjoyed the usual pleasures and comforts of the palace like other youthful princes elsewhere. At last, he came across 4 scenes of man's existence which left a deep impression on his thought. One day, as his charioteer, Chana, took the prince through the streets of Kapilavastu, Gautama saw an old man, bent with age and having wrinkled face, and presenting a pathetic appearance. He came to understand that the miseries of the old age were natural in life. Subsequently, when he saw another man suffering from disease with extreme pain, he was told by the charioteer that sickness and disease were like the companions of life. The third scene was yet more shocking. When the prince came across the sight of a dead man being carried by his sorrowful relatives, weeping and lamenting, he came to know that man has no escape from death, which was inevitable. While overtaken by distressing thoughts of old age, disease and death, Gautama came across yet another scene. It was the sight of sannyasi, who had renounced everything and was walking alone, without any sign of worries and anxieties on his happy face. These 4 experiences of Prince Gautama had been described as the 4 great signs. They proved like a turning point in his life, causing him to think seriously on the meaning of human existence. While a change of mind was thus taking place, Gautama was blessed with a son at the age of 29. He named his son Rahul. To him, it was yet another bond to tie him to worldly life. But it was not the end for Gautama. It was like whole universe wanted him to find answers for his questions about life. Without waiting further, Gautama decided to renounce the world. So at the age of 29, in the silent hours of a dark night, he came out of the palace, leaving behind his sleeping wife and the son, as well as his old father, and accompanied by his faithful charioteer, Chana, disappeared into darkness, from a home to a homeless life. This event in Gautama's life is famous as Great Renunciation. At the boundary of the Sakya territory, Gautama asked Chana to return to Kapilavastu, his city, and tell his father not to make efforts to find his whereabouts. because he had now accepted once and for all the homeless way of life of a wandering monk. When the most devoted charioteer insisted that he should stay with the prince, Gautama persuaded him to go back, saying that man is born alone and he must pass away alone. And in aloneness, the whole truth of life was hidden. Gautama wanted to search the truth alone. The prince proceeded to Rajagira and tried to satisfy his inner hunger at the feet of two learned saints named Alara and Udraka. For some time thereafter he tried to seek guidance from various wise teachers, but got no satisfaction at all. Thereupon he decided to subject his body to extreme physical pain, going to dense forests. Far from human beings, he practiced hard penance. For 6 years, he was thus wandering from place to place in the quest of answers to his doubts. At Urvilva, near Gaya, he practiced the most severe penance by reducing his body almost to bones and skins. That too did not bring any result to him. So finally, there at Urvilva, after taking a bath in the river Niranjana, he sat down under a peepal tree with the supreme resolve, I will not leave the place till I attain that peace of mind which I have been trying for all these years. As he sat in the deep meditation, there at last came to him the great knowledge from the great unknown. Prince Gautama Siddhartha got the enlightenment and became the Buddha, or the enlightened one. He also came to know as Sakya Muni, or the sage of the Sakyas. Buddha was then 35 years in age. The peepal tree under which he got enlightenment became famous as the Bodhi tree, and the place came to be known as Bodh Gaya. As the name was placed Gaya before he got enlightenment, then it turned to Bodh Gaya. The truth which Buddha got was the truth underlying life as a whole, namely, life is full of suffering. Desire is the cause of suffering. Suffering ends at the destruction of desire, and desire is destroyed by right living. That means desires are the only reason behind all the sufferings in our life. We have to control our mind and control our desires to get rightful living and get rid of all the sufferings. Then, after deciding to preach the truth, Buddha proceeded from Bodh Gaya to the Deer Park in Sarnath, where he gave his first sermons to 5 Brahmins. This event is famous as the Dharma Chakra Parivartana, or the turning of wheel of law. Thus began the mission of Buddha as a preacher, and there also began the rise of new religion, Buddhism. Buddha died at the age of 80 at a place named Kushinagar in the present-day Gorakhpur district of modern Uttar Pradesh. So he died in India, and his birthplace is currently in Nepal. So I'm done with the most of work on my painting. From the process you can observe it needs few layers of paint to make your painting look perfect. I have a question for you. What do you think about human hairs? Are they only for beauty and styling, or to cover our head? No. Let me tell you, hair is often used as a metaphor for human beings' illusion and ignorance. So, it is also called weeds of ignorance. And having a shaved head symbolically represents getting rid of those illusions and ignorance. It is believed that to achieve the level of true understanding and enlightenment, we should keep our body and mind clean. That's why we often see Buddhist monks having a shaved head. Even history suggests that Siddhartha Gautama shaved his head before going out to find enlightenment. But when we see Buddha in any of his statues or any other form of art, Buddha is portrayed with short and tight ringlet curls. To be exact, there are around 108 ringlet curls on the Buddha's head. So one question arises, why the artists that have been portraying Buddha with short ringlets? There are numerous beliefs for these short ringlets. One belief suggests that these ringlets are not short hair but are actually 108 dried snails. So there is a story behind this. One day, on a sunny afternoon, Buddha sat down under the tree and started to meditate. He became so immersed in his meditation that he did not notice the time. As time passed by, the sun rays were directed towards his head. Thinking Buddha was soon going to be distracted and lose focus on his concentration due to the sun rays, without a second thought, snail made its way to the Buddha's head and sat there. With his lubricated body cooling the Buddha's smooth and bare skin, other snails also followed the first one, went up to the head and sat down there. Snails on the head looked like a neat cap of spiral shell. Snails' cool and damp bodies helped to maintain the Buddha's meditation continue for hours. The snail became dehydrated and dry due to the heat rays. Later in the evening, Buddha stood from the meditation. He learned that he was wearing a cap of 108 snails, all of whom had given their lives to make a distraction-free environment for Buddha's path to enlightenment. Since snails had given their lives for Buddha, they are now honored as martyrs. Hence, they are displayed on Buddha's statues to remind us of their sacrifice. So, on the Buddha's head, I am going to draw snails now. These are not his hairs, these are those tried snails which sacrificed their life to make the path for clear for Buddha towards enlightenment. Today's tip for the painting is, as acrylics dry faster, you need to be quick to blend the colors before the colors dried up. So blending the colors is the major part in every painting. You have to blend colors well. To blend colors, you have to use dry brush. Don't try to blend colors with the same brush with which you are painting. Take another brush, dry brush, and then try to blend the colors smoothly. So my painting is now ready. I hope this video will be helpful for you from both the perspectives, both painting and knowledge perspective. If you like this video, please press the like button to let me know that you liked it, and you can also give me your reviews in the comment section. Please do share this video with your family and friends, and please subscribe my channel to get more such videos. I'll meet you in the next video. Till then, bye bye, take care. God bless you all.